Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brett Keane from God TV Radio. Make sure you check out my website, godtvradio.com. Connect with me on Facebook and Twitter, and make sure you check out all my YouTube channels. All links can be found in the description as well as my website. One of the biggest questions that science asks is, how did the water get here on this planet? A lot of people might assume or think that there's some kind of explanation, or that it just simply formed with the planet. Now, most people out there who've actually read the Bible, whether you're a non-believer or a God believer, you would probably realize that the origin, according to the Bible, states that the source of the water is from space, and that source, of course, would be God. The Bible makes it very clear that in the beginning of the universe, whenever God created the worlds, and in the book of Hebrew it actually says God created the planets, he actually formed all that you see in existence, and he did it before the planet actually existed. So this means that God actually formed and created the world and created the water within it. Now, what's fascinating and interesting about this, if you continue to look through science on this, science is also declaring that from the Earth, this is how actually the moon was formed. It is believed that something hit a partition of the planet and ended up creating our moon. Did you know that they actually have a hypothesis that one day, because our solar system does what is called the wobble effect, that Mars and the Earth may actually collide one day? They're claiming that will happen millions of years later. However, there's also the hypothesis that our sun will fade out, or it will explode, or it will become ignited and end up setting our entire solar system on fire. There's a lot of very dramatic, sad tales that they tell us. So the scientists at this point, they're not exactly sure how that water got here. And of course, being nowadays in our modern time, they don't want to be open to the idea of something supernatural behind it. So they're claiming that conveniently a giant rock carrying a lot of water may have hit the planet. Of course, they don't have any kind of evidence for this. They don't have any kind of facts. And that's the reason why they refer to it as a theory or a hypothesis. Now, time travel is also a theory, but you're not going to see anybody flying around in a DeLorean anytime soon. We still haven't figured out the origin of life, because whatever the origin of life was, there's no way to be able to go back in time to be able to figure that out. And now that a 90-year-old theory like the primordial soup theory has been debunked, now they're claiming that wherever life came from, it came from the oceans. Fascinating enough, the Bible got it right whenever it said the universe had a beginning, and it also had it right whenever it said that the first thing that God created on this planet was water. He formed the waters, and he formed the heavens around it, which is the universe. I like how the Bible also tells you that God basically, he kind of hovered over the mist and the darkness and all this. It's interesting because it tells you that before the world was formed, these primitive men somehow knew that God was actually floating around in a dark, gigantic space whenever he was forming all this. Now, how could have they known that? How could have they even known that there was anything beyond the atmosphere of this planet? They didn't have telescopes or spaceships or anything like that. The universe is said to be over 80% dust, cosmic dust. Carl Sagan states that we are children of stardust. Guess where the dust comes from that is on our planet? Our planet literally gains a great deal of dust almost all the time because of the dust from the universe. So I find it fascinating that this entity, this intelligent mind, actually used the properties of the universe, which would be the dust, 80% of the universe, cosmic dust, and formed us from it. So Carl Sagan was right. We are children of dust. I also find it fascinating, too, that when you look at science and you look into their hypothesis and theory on evolution, they state that we became self-aware and our consciousness had to come around the same time we were primates in the form, if you actually believe in evolution. I think there's holes in it, and there's a lot of people that question it. But what I find really interesting is supposedly Adam and Eve, if you believe the story to be literal, they existed and lived within wilderness. They existed in a place where it was pretty much trees and a paradise. And because of their dieting and because of what they had eaten, they became aware of good and evil. They became open-minded to what was happening around them, almost as if they went through a biological change, which then, of course, according to the Bible, they became like gods, according to it. Their eyes were open. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Because evolution claims that during the primate stage, before humanity, that's whenever the self-awareness came. Because of what they had eaten, because of their diet, and because of the way the climate was, these were the variables and recipe needed in order for the primates to be able to become aware. Did you know that the Bible doesn't actually describe what Adam and Eve looks like? It doesn't tell you. But it does tell you that Adam and Eve formed originally from the properties of the earth. But what did God make us look like whenever He formed us? What does it mean whenever it says God created us in His image? The image of a man? It doesn't say He created us as an image of a man. That's just a word given for it, for male and female. I like how one other thing too that you may have not have noticed, just something to throw out there. It might seem kind of silly for some, but if you listen to any scientist, hell, you could listen to Bill Nye, he describes everything made up of atoms and material and substance. He believes that they're so close together that is what causes it to where we don't simply just walk through the properties of an object or something. Isn't it funny that science actually named it Adam, and here we go in the Bible, God created what was the first supposed man's name, Adam. I don't know, kind of a coincidence. The universe being 80% dust, and voila, there it is. You know, a lot of people out there, they say, how could it be that the planet Earth actually flooded? Well, the Earth is 75 to 80% water, and 400 miles beneath our feet, there's been enough water discovered to fill our oceans 3 times over. According to science, Mars was flooded with waters and oceans at one point in time until some kind of cataclysm happened. I'm going to leave you with one more question, ladies and gentlemen, before I shut down this video. The theory on the end of the dinosaurs, the extinction, that's exactly what's called the extinction of the dinosaurs, was because supposedly an asteroid hit the Earth and it hit in the oceans, causing a giant tidal wave and floods, as well as filling the Earth with dust, suffocating as well as drowning these dinosaurs, also being one of the main reasons why we have the Grand Canyon and other strange anomalies inside of mountains and rivers and so on. I wondered to myself, is the timing all screwed up? Because supposedly our planet collided with Mars a long time ago, and it's predicted to do that again later on. Supposedly a gigantic rock hit our Earth and formed the moon. Supposedly we have some kind of material of the meteorite off in the ocean. And I wondered to myself, is that one of the ways that God actually cracked open the earth and caused the waters to come rushing out along with the rain to cause the flood? Because in that flood it said it killed every life form out there. Of course, One of the predictions, of course, is that dinosaurs existed millions of years before humanity. But wait a minute, don't they believe that we were an evolved form at the time during the dinosaurs? Don't they believe that we were like a shrew rat, according to them? So if we actually did get hit with a cataclysmic event, then why did the shrew somehow survive and evolve all the way through out the ages and become humans later on? Strange to think about. People always ask that question, did dinosaurs ever walk with us? Well, if it is like it says, and yes it did, just in a different form, our ancestors allegedly. Well, it is what it is. If anybody has any doubts about anything I'm talking about, feel free to Google. Google will tell you everything that I've been pointing out. All right, God bless.